Trent England with Save Our States, talking with Josh Hammer, opinion editor of Newsweek and a syndicated columnist. So, Josh, Save Our States is focused on defending the Electoral College. You're a defender of the Electoral College as well. Tell us about how you see this, why you see this debate as being important. I think a lot of people look at this and they say, look, popular vote Electoral College doesn't really make much of a difference. Maybe the Electoral College is just some sort of antiquated institution. What's your view?
So to take us back to like real first principles here, of course, the Electoral College is, and your audience is really the last one I need to explain this to, but I might as well just say it anyway. The Electoral College is one of like the many tools, or it's really one of the many features, I should say, that the framers put in to our founding charter to kind of weave throughout it and basically kind of pronounce the people and ultimately then implement in structural concrete form that this was a document not of pure lowercase d democracy, but it was a document that would kind of channel the will of the people in a profoundly lowercase r Republican way, ultimately redounding to the common good of the whole, to the national interest, whatever you want to call it here, to all the aims enunciated in the preamble, more perfect union, general welfare, and so forth. So look, obviously, perhaps the most famous Federalist paper of them all is obviously Federalist 10, right? James Madison famously talks about the problem of faction and how do you deal with the problem of faction in a democracy, in a republic, and how you weave in these counter-majoritarian instruments here. To say an obvious point, the framers were obviously terrified of monarchical tyranny. They quite literally rebelled against kind of a monarch and King George III, who you can go back to the Declaration and read this long list of grievances. They thought the king was infringing on both their English common law rights, according to the English Bill of Rights of 1689, and by extension, of course, their natural rights in the minds of a lot of framers as well here. But on the other hand, they were also terrified of pure, unadulterated majoritarian democracy. They did not want that. And they took such great pains to prevent that from happening. Obviously, they separated, constitutionally, both vertically, of course, you have the federal government and the 50 state governments. At the time, it was not 50, but, same thing. And then, of course, Article 1, Article 2, Section 3, you have the Congress, the presidency, and the judicial branch. And even within the Congress, obviously, there's kind of the plebiscitary measure that is the House of Representatives, that is direct vote, the Senate, of course, which is not direct vote. So they obviously then there's the direct election of senators, the 17th Amendment. There are so many tools in there to prevent this thing from becoming a runaway democracy. And at a very concrete level, what the Electoral College does, of course, is it makes sure that a lot of people have a concrete vote in who the president is who wouldn't otherwise have a vote. If you got rid of the Electoral College here, if we, especially in the year 2021, this is true back in the late 18th century as well, I think, but especially in the year 2021, if you got the Electoral College, what is exactly is the incentive for a presidential and a vice presidential contender to campaign anywhere outside of New York, LA, maybe here in South Florida, where I live, and a select few other locations, right? There really is no incentive here. So if we want to ensure that the American people at large actually have a say in who is the leader of the country and who is the leader of the free world, and if we want to obviously preserve this wonderful foundation in counter-majoritarian republicanism, lowercase r republicanism, that is, I really encourage the viewers to go back and reread Madison Federalist 10. He lays this out much more clearly than I ever could hope to. If we want to preserve all of that, then you have to fight for the Electoral College. I mean, it is probably the preeminent constitutional structural means to achieving those ends currently, I think.